Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Beacon of Light podcast tonight. Tonight we have an awesome guest, and her name is Anne Marie Thrives. So before we start talking to her, we're going to jump into this. I'm April Tribe Juke. Welcome to the Beacon of Light podcast. I believe we are all made with light, and light is hope. This podcast brings authors who write stories of hope to all of you. Your journey to be inspired and amplified by these stories starts now. Thank you, everyone, and welcome back. Again, we have Anne Marie here tonight. And Anne, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am I was born in Italy, and when I was 7, my parents moved us to the United States, and I pretty much grew up here, although our household heritage was, Italian. And so it was fun going to school, learning a new language, a new culture, and kind of having my feet in two worlds instead of just one. And I'm really passionate about self-care. I'm a cosmetologist, and I practiced for many years. I did makeup for special occasions and weddings and things like that. And then I transitioned just before COVID. The Lord told me, go online. And I'm like, go online? What do you mean? And so after a couple years, following each step as I went along, it just turned into some books and coaching and a whole new lifestyle. So here I am.
Wonderful. That is a great introduction. And so I'm sure that you've heard many a time sitting in a chair as you are definitely getting to know the person that you are very close to and combing through their hair. Probably some pre-coaching supports were done right there in your own little practice without really knowing that, but someone else did. So that's awesome. It's incredible. So tonight, everybody, we have two books that we're going to talk about. One is out and ready for you to go and get, and the other one is just in our pre-sales for her. And so this is kind of another promotional way to help Anne. So we are excited to have her here tonight.
Yes.
So with your first book, let's go ahead and talk about that. And you can see it running on the ticker underneath there.
So my first book is called Preparation for the King. This is actually my second. There's this one here, which we're not going to talk about tonight, but I wrote this around Christmas time, and it's 31 Days to a Stable Christmas, all in the wellness, genre. So, and this one, Esther, is a study that I've been doing for like 7 years and then a couple of years, and then I'll do it again and I'll do it again. So it's a culmination of 7 years of my walk with God and the book of Esther. So learning how to handle situations that are difficult, learning how to, make your big ask at the proper time, because there's a time and a place for everything. And if we stop and we listen to what our spirit is telling us, then things will go well with us. And there's that time to prepare spiritually, physically, and emotionally for the things that happen in our lives, and just to take a step back and not scurry when things happen, because as women, we have a tendency to want to take care of so many things, and we're by nature, most of us are helpers. And so when something happens, oh, you're bleeding, let me help you, or you drop that, let me pick it up for you. Whatever it is, we just want to help, and we come from a place of help. And so it's good to sit still for a second when something happens to see how God wants us to move forward. So this book is kind of eclectic. So it's part journal, it's part novel, and background of Esther and her people, and what she went through and how she went through it, and just the different perspectives of what to do in situations when we're backed up against the wall and it looks like we're gonna die.
Yes, those feelings are real. So a question popped up in my mind about about Esther, and in your study, do you feel like now don't go all woo woo on me, but here's my question. Do you
Yeah.
feel like she is there helping and prompting through the spirit of, I experienced these things? Or when you're researching, do you just find nuggets of insight that then you take it within your heart? Tell us how that experience kind of happens when you're writing about somebody from the Bible.
Mhm. Well, I always pray like before I read because I ask God to, just to illuminate my mind and help me to see things that I don't wouldn't normally see on my own. And through the Holy Spirit, every time I read it, I find something new, and the journey gets longer, but in a good way. And I learn more, and I see things that I didn't see before. And being a human behavioral specialist, I can't say that three times fast, but you know seeing the different personalities within the story of Esther and how they interact with each other, and kind of who's what personality, because it kind of has something to do with that as well. And so it's really cool to do that. And I've done a couple of Bible study webinars with a few people, and it was just really wonderful to just kind of share what everybody else saw as well. So it's just really wonderful to have the opportunity to, through the Holy Spirit, to see things differently. I mean, same vein, same spirit, but just different things light up at different periods of time. Because I remember that one of the times that I was studying Esther, my best friend from high school was very ill in the hospital and ended up passing away. And in my journal, I wrote the date that she passed. Um, um, and now when I look back and I see that page, it's a constant reminder of, look at what the Lord showed me that day. And so I think he meets us where we are, and gives us what we need when we need it. So um I hope that
And
answers.
that's very true of how Esther, um, well, and how the story goes. If
Yeah.
you only just look at the story of,
Hmm.
it's amazing on its own accord. And then when you add faith into that
Yeah.
and start to ask, could I have done something similar?
Hmm.
Could I, or do I, uh, exercise this kind of faith right now? Um, you mean going and facing my boss? To me, that feels just like going and facing that king that
Hmm.
Esther had to, but she had a higher calling and knew that someone was backing her up and hoped so and can go through it. And right. So you've got all these different kinds of ways that can happen. So there is real hope when we are looking through these kinds of these stories from the Bible,
Yes.
and these are real things that happen, and the record of faith that and miracles that happened then. Do
Hmm.
you feel like they can happen today?
They are happening today. There's people all over the world that are experiencing great trials right now because of what's happening. And they're literally putting their lives at risk by coming forth, as a Christian, for what they believe, and the path that they feel that the Lord is calling them to follow. And I think every day it's happening for us. As women, we come up with situations that happen in our lives, and we have to figure out ways to amend those things, and through God to make the situations better, or you know let go of the situations, or hang on tighter, whatever it is that he's telling us to do. I feel like every day we're forced to make decisions, um, sometimes forced, sometimes not, but decisions are always there to be made. And for some of us, they're small decisions, and for some people, they're big decisions that could cost them their lives. um, and just like in the garden, that one decision, led to so many things. And so we have to realize that our decisions that we make, the choices that we make matter. So, and we need to be accountable also to ourselves and to those around us for the decisions that we make. So it's not just going to affect us. I believe everything that, I love the meme for your podcast, because lighthouses for me, for my entire life, I've just admired them because they're that light that's there, and we don't know who we're lighting up, who's looking for that light in us. And so every decision that we make, I believe, has a ripple effect to bring light to others. And we want to be mindful of the decisions that we're making, because there's other people coming up behind us.
Very true. And I think what's so amazing about our lighthouses, when you are in that storm-tossed sea, it is sometimes so far away, just a pinpoint of
Yes.
light. And as you follow in that direction of the ray, it becomes stronger and stronger until it becomes that beam and then that beacon, and you know where to go.
Yes.
So the the storm never stopped.
Mhm.
The boat is still on that rocky water. The dangers were still as equal,
Mhm.
but now you have a guide and a way back. And when
Mhm.
Christ is that light and then we're following that, when
Mhm.
God is in our lives and we are following that,
Mhm.
amazing. So that light within all of us, as we connect it together, yes, it burns brighter, but I really feel like we are lenses and mirrors that we actually bounce and reflect more of someone else's light when we come together. So that is really a special thing. And somebody like Esther,
Mhm.
in a situation which seemed, logically on paper to be impossible,
Yes.
became possible. So
Yes. Yeah.
amazing.
And sometimes all we need is just that one little pinpoint of light. Because I remember, part of my story is, I was in a very bad car accident when I was, in my mid 20s, and I broke my back. And here I am in the ER, moving to my new apartment, starting a new life. And it's like, no, you can't go to the bathroom, because if you move wrong, you could be paralyzed. And as a matter of fact, that's what they thought was going to happen. And you're not going to walk again, and all of these things. And I'm like, no. And so that sitting still and waiting for God to do things, and just having faith that, there is hope in every little thing, and there's a way out, and there is a way to go if we just sit still long enough to find that answer. I mean, I've, you know, you said to find the catchy title. And when I started looking back at my life, I thought to myself, you just can't make this stuff up, because between the car accident, the cancer, the this, the that, the other, it's just really, it's almost like you're reading from some crazy person's story.
And you're not crazy.
Nope.
And you're still here. And
I'm
your
still
light is still shining brightly. I think that's awesome. So, thank you so much for sharing with us. So, as part of that book,
here. Mhm.
in preparation for The King,
Yes.
um, what is something that you would recommend to a reader who would want to pick up that book?
Well, I think there's something in there for everybody, because there's history there, about Esther. There's a way, to read the Bible that gives better retention. It's called SOAP. I don't know where I picked it up, but writing the scripture down, making an observation, applying it to your life, and then adding prayer to it. And the Lord led me to share my journal, that, during one of my studies with Esther.
Wow, that
Yeah.
is incredible. There's so much to that. And when we are still while we're doing that study and application and adding it to prayer, there's just so much more that can happen. And I don't know how to say this. Sometimes when people hear that, I don't want to say formula, but something that sounds really familiar, like, I just have to read and pray again. That's it. That's all you got for me. It's like, why don't just try it? Just try it. See what can happen for you.
Mhm.
I tried it once. We're finished. Maybe a few more times there. Let's
Well,
practice
as
this.
as a coach and a human behavioral specialist, it's 90 days. You really have to, whatever it is, it takes 21 days to build a habit, another one and another like 62 days to make it stick. So you are taking your habits and you're replacing them with your the ones that aren't serving you with habits that are serving you, and then allowing time and grace to help you to keep those habits in play. And I talk about that in the book as well. um, and just how to mentally prepare yourself for the hard decisions of life, so that we're not just running around in circles, but really sitting for just a second, because the brain is a wonderful thing. um, you've got your hypothalamus that only believes what you tell it. Your voice entered into your ears and into your mind is the most powerful entry of peace and joy and strength that you can get. And when you speak, give yourself a pep talk and speak words of life to yourself instead of words of death, which is another thing that I talk about in the book. It gives you life, because you could stub your toe and you could just say 10 expletives and it'll make things worse, as opposed to saying something different to any situation, because our words are life. I believe, God created the earth with his words. And so, being made in his image, our words matter too. And so we need to be mindful of that. And I don't think that we are. And I know that some people will be like, oh, we don't want to get uh, all religious with our words and things like that, but we do need to watch them. We need to watch what we say, and continue to speak life to ourselves, to our families, to our children. There's so much death out there. There's so many things that are dying, bad things that they see all day long on devices in school, wherever they go. And they need to have a safe place in the home and through their parents. Or maybe you're a mom that has to work, or both parents are working, but the time that you spend with them, speaking life to them, is going to resonate with them for the rest of their lives. So being accepted and being loved and having good words spoken over you, words of peace, words of joy, words of strength, words of hope, instead of knocking them down for what they're doing, praise them for the littlest of things, because I think everyone needs a little bit of encouragement. And if we focus on the things that they're doing well, they're going to want to do more good things, and they're going to want to be better and
That's
believe.
very true.
Yeah.
Awesome. So it's really interesting. We're going to kind of pause it there with that positivity and speaking words in that light. The second book to talk about the post pandemic woman, and the full title is running underneath that on that ticker, where she says it's a diary of a fat mourning post pandemic woman.
Mhm.
Okay, spill it. What's happening with this book?
So that book was interesting because I was waiting for a message on my computer, and I was going back and forth to the mirror from my iPad to the mirror, waiting for this message. And I saw this picture that of a book, not a before and after, but like a 12-year-old and a 25-year-old, or however. And I saw that picture and I saw myself as a little kid. And then here's this beautiful woman, all these years later, cuz I got bullied a lot when I when I was younger, just for being the kid that didn't know the language or whatever. My parents talk funny. I have 100 reasons, but anyway, so when I went back into the mirror after checking and seeing that picture, I was putting on my mascara and I heard Diary of a Fat and Mourning Post-Pandemic Woman, because here in the household, we rocked COVID. I mean, my circadian rhythm, I was watching that, going to bed at 10, getting up at 6, sometimes earlier, and just working out and eating right. And, just really taking care of myself, because those were the things that I could control when everything else around me was going nutty, as we all know. And then the Lord told me that he was going to crown my year. And I thought, Corona in Italian means the crown. And so I wonder how my year is going to get crowned. And then at the beginning of December, we got the news that my brother passed. And so that led to a downward spiral after a while. And I went to food for comfort. We all have our comforts, whether it's, you could smoke, you could eat, you could exercise. I mean, we can run the gamut. But a little at a time, um, the weight, meal by meal, the weight just kind of came back as I was dealing with the grief. And so I I wasn't alone with that. A lot of people were going through the same thing, and I really felt the need to share on how to get out of that, because as a coach, I had to coach myself how to get out. Am I where I want to be right now? Not yet, but I'm getting there, and I've pulled myself out, and I've used the tools that, I teach other people to get out. And it's really important, it's not just someone dying. I feel like during COVID, a lot of things died for us. Your job that you had for years on end could have died for you. Your calling in life may have changed. There's so many different dynamics of change that happened when that took place. Some good, some not so good. And I think that we need to acknowledge the things that have died, the things that need to be resurrected, and the things that need to stay dead, you know? And so I just, it's kind of, it's a little raw because I'm, despite the fact that I do podcasts and I've written a few books, I've always been a really quiet, keep to myself person in my life. But I feel like people need help. People are bleeding and they need triage, and which part are we going to deal with first? So I talk a lot about eating disorders, and how to keep yourself physically, spiritually, and emotionally in tune, so that you don't fall too hard, but also giving yourself the time to grieve, because the Bible does talk about a period of mourning, and we need to take that period of mourning no matter what's happening in life. When one chapter ends and another one starts, are we reflecting, or are we taking that pause to help us to understand what just happened and what's our next best step? Because I think sometimes we go from one thing to another and we don't make that pause, even if it's just for a few minutes, you know? So that's basically what that book is, and getting in the zone, because a lot of times when we reach goals, there's certain steps that we have to take in order to reach them well. And how do we do that? And so I talk a lot about just reverse engineering your life, figuring out what you want over here, and how to backtrack to so that you have a good start, so that you have a good finish. They say a lot, when people are writing things or they're making a movie or something like that, where they start with the end in mind. And now some of the movies are starting with the end. They're showing you the end, and then you get to see the rest of the movie, kind of like reading the last page in a book. But so with the end in mind, what do you want your life to look like? And then we go and we fashion that picture that's there, because I think God gave all of us a vision in our hearts of what he desires for us to be and what we desire to be. And hopefully those two things are in line. And then we just kind of live our lives in such a manner and put systems in place to be able to reach those goals and make it happen, so that that picture can come to life. And I can tell you down to some crazy stories as a woman having cancer, and all the other things that went with it, that some of the words that I said to my best friend about how we were just talking about how we were going to enhance ourselves. And so when I looked at my scars, it was, now this was a conversation like 10 years beforehand. And I'm like, oh, maybe I can get this done. And then one day I just happened to be, taking care of myself, and I saw my scars, and I thought of that conversation, because my scars are the same shape as what I told her I wanted. So, um, our words matter, our visions matter. It wasn't my choice to get here this way, but I just find it funny. Yeah.
It is really interesting. And so, with that diary, if someone were to pick it up and they're reading through it, you said it was raw. And is it like part story, part help how to, like,
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
okay,
Yes. So there's a lot of this is how I got here, and this is how I got myself out. And then I shared some of my journal during the pandemic, which, a lot of people that struggle with eating disorders would, even those that don't, because as women, I think we're always watching ourselves, and just to be mindful of what we're doing. So there's a lot of, encouragement. Pick yourself back up. It's not over. It's a life journey. It's not a diet and I'm done and I'm going to be okay. It's just a life journey, and how to live that life journey well, no matter what happens. Even if you fall down, you just have to keep picking yourself back up. I talk about getting in the zone in your mind and in your life. Um, and just a lot of good tips on how to live life in a way that's going to make you victorious, whether you're feeling victorious at the moment or not.
yeah,
Because
that is a big deal, because if you can see, and that's part of that ending, like you said, if you can see the end in mind, victory,
mm,
that area, and
mhm,
working backwards, like you had mentioned before,
mhm,
there's a big difference on how your attitude and the possibilities go as you work towards it. I think some of us like to get stuck in the how. How is all this going to work? How? Give me the answers. I need the control. And when you let go of all of that and keep the goal in mind,
mhm.
he will guide you to the best journey to get there. Didn't say the quickest, didn't
Right.
say the fastest,
Right.
didn't say the straightest,
Mhm.
but the best for you on
Mhm.
what you can learn through that journey.
Yes. Yes. And it's really important to remind yourself that there's hope no matter what's happening. But some victories can be, I got up and I worked out and I took a shower. Even if I put on another set of clean pajamas, you have to celebrate the little things that you accomplish, so that your mind and your body can have that, that sense of, I am okay, even if I'm just, you know, little o, little k, okay, instead of capital O, capital K, okay, and to just celebrate those little things, because we could just fly by and not, oh yeah, I did that, okay. But for some people, the smallest of things are hard, and we just have to, again, give ourselves grace and figure out ways, to pull yourself. I mean, there were days, I mean, I'm Christian, I've been Christian for a long time, and here I am, like, feeling like I have no hope in the world. And then one day I was like, what are you doing? You have all these tools. What's the matter with you? Pick yourself up. It's going to be okay, you know? But
You
also,
already know the ending of that story,
right,
right?
right.
You've already picked a winning team,
Hmm.
so don't be blah on the team.
Right,
Keep going
right.
forward.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
fantastic, fantastic. So, where can we get a hold of these books?
Um, www.wethriveatlife.com. And I think there's a special there with the Esther book and the wellness book. And the newest book is on pre-order because it's going to launch in about a month. I'm
Awesome.
just giving, I say a month because I've been through this before. And there's always a little glitch, so I'm giving myself some grace to make sure that, the goal is to have it come out before Memorial Day. So, yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right, guys, so go ahead and go grab those two books. check out her third book as well. And you can see the 2 titles running on the ticker underneath. And you
Yeah.
can see also her
Mhm.
website, which is also there. So exciting time for Anne-Marie. Thank you so much for being a part of our podcast tonight. Thank you for sharing your hope and light with us. And we will be here next week for another wonderful podcast of hope and light. See you again. Please like and subscribe and share this with all those people that need some more hope and light in their lives. Thank you, everyone.
I wanted to share this real quick. If you go onto the website, there's a here it is. It's my keys to going from thriving to surviving. So you could get that for free on the website.
Beautiful. Thank you, everybody. Go to that website. We
thrive
at
life.
at life.com.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
We'll see you all soon. Bye, everybody.